security community is going. We absolutely fucking hate where the security community is going. So we feel that there are too many people out there who claim they can hack and talk all this bullshit about hacking. And you ever run into that dude at the bar, shotgun mouth, BB gun ass? That's kind of how I feel about the bulk of the community. So I've got an app. It is not unbelievably hard, but me and my friends are making a series of challenges. So every talk that I give for the rest of this year, I'm going to issue a challenge at the beginning of every talk. And it's going to be called, how about a nice, hot, steamy cup of shut the fuck up? So the goal of this is I'm going to release an app or some sort of challenge that I will give $100 at the end of my talk for the person who can RE this app. This is an iPhone app. If you can reverse engineer it successfully before the end of my talk, I will drop cash. So, cash, how about a nice hot cup of shut the fuck up? If you can own it, own it. Otherwise, you might want to listen to me. Fair enough? Fair enough. All right, so. That does work. Okay, so how do I throw down? Anybody who knows how I do what I do, I get up here, pretty simple. I hack, I curse, I drink. It's all about rum and coke for me. That's pretty much it. Okay, what are we up against? Okay, so from Wikipedia, a smartphone is a mobile phone that offers more advanced computing ability and connectivity than a contemporary feature phone. Everybody? Ooh. Smartphones and feature phones may be thought of as handheld computers integrated with a mobile telephone. But while most feature phones are able to run applications based on platforms such as Java ME, a smartphone allows the user to install and run more applications. Okay, now everybody? Okay, so smartphones run complete operating system software, providing a platform for application developers. Now, I'm thinking that's pretty interesting. I had some career advice from someone that Wesley may know. Many, many moons ago, I used to compete at these things called Capture the Flags at DEF CON. And there was this guy, his name was Crocodile. And he would come and he would give me advice because, I was one of those young Padawans, right? A little groupie. He'd kind of show me some things. He'd be like, okay, Joe, if you really want to be good at this stuff, you need to work on doing whatever the scanner can't do. So this is like fucking 12 years ago. And he's like, try putting a backtick in an app and see what happens. Let's just see what it does. So over the years, the same thing that happened in our IT industry with what we call the paper MCSE has happened to the security industry. As the industry progresses, the skill required to do certain tasks becomes less and less because we have more automated things to do it. So let's look at back in the good old days. Back when intrusion detection was like some ninja shit, it was like hardcore packet analysis. Dudes would break out TCP dump. There was no fucking GUI. There was no color shit. It was hex, right? Come on. Where's my people? Where's my people? It was hex. So you were back there and you were ripping up hex and you were writing your own filters and all these PCAP sorting scripts, and all of a sudden people were like, yo, check this Wireshark shit out. You're like, damn, that's kind of nice. Right? Then we started getting in with Snort and all that, and we started doing dynamic preprocessors, and it started to get really cool. Then all of a sudden, all these vendors came in and they started stealing Snort signatures and selling them. Then the industry started to suck, yes? Yes. Now, all of a sudden, everybody's an intrusion analyst. And all these guys who could not fucking do an if config and bring their interface up are now intrusion analysts. Yes, I'm the packet guy, but I cannot fire up my Linux box, that guy. So now what eventually happened to that, now the guys that we've got driving the IDS are effectively help desk techs because now they've got ArcSight. Yes? So now you've got a guy who can't even fucking read Wireshark going, well, I see the intrusions, look at those. Right? Yeah, if you're lucky, he can read. So this is what's happened with intrusion detection. Then it went into pen testing. The same thing happened, right? Everything was manual. There were very few testing tools. You wrote your own scripts. All of a sudden, we started getting automated vulnerability testing tools, and they were free. Who remembers when Nessus was free? Hallelujah. Who fucking remembers when Nessus was free? And then all of a sudden, all these commercial guys came in, they started stealing the Nessus plugins, writing their own stuff, and then the guys who wrote Nessus were like, damn shit, we need to eat too, right? So then they started selling it. Then after a while, that led to automated exploit frameworks. Now, can you name any pen tester who actually has a clue? Like seriously. Like seriously, it's like for every 20 pen testers, you're like, okay, well, okay, he can actually write a script. Okay, move him over. Okay, he can actually compile code. Think about it. I've really run into pen testers today who fucking can't compile an application. Like GCC-O, how do you do that? I mean, it's throwing an error. It says it wants a header file. What's this standard lib.io? What the fuck, man? So now pen testing is a job of scanner monkeys and help desk techs. So now that's led us into where we are right now with web applications. Right now, web applications are starting to get flooded the market with web application vulnerability scanners, your web inspect, your app scan, and all of that. And then automated exploit frameworks are moving into that space as well. So you're going to have Metasploit, Core, and Canvas that are now starting to do web stuff. So that leaves us two genres. That leaves us mobile, and that leaves us the cloud. So what this person, Crocodile, was trying to tell me was if you want to be a good pen tester, the type of pen tester that people have to pay you for because a scanner can't do it. So you're going to make a higher fee. You're going to be more valuable because you can do some shit that there's no automated tool for. So right now, that's mobile and that's cloud. Okay, so that's really kind of what this talk is about. So let's look at some mobile stuff. Let's own one, shall we, as I like to say. All right, so what's going on? The first thing that you want to do if you want to start jacking mobile, you got to get your environment set up. So for me, generally that's going to be getting your SDK going, getting your emulators going, getting all your decompilers, getting your tools ready to go so that you can work from your mobile platform. After that, getting yourself set up so that you can actually use the phone as a pen test platform, installing Nmap, Nikto, S-Tunnel, Metasploit, all that kind of stuff, so that you can actually do some jacking with the phone. After that, we quickly move into reverse engineering. So getting your decompilers going, getting class dump and things like that so that we can break some applications apart and start seeing how they load. And then lastly, actually running real exploits. And then the final component is dealing with the web service that the client interacts with. So when you're testing a mobile app, generally you have the client binary app that runs on the phone, and then you have the web service that the app interacts with. So once you're testing the app that runs on the phone, it's like testing any other thick client app. Is it written in Java? Is it written in Objective-C? You know, can you hijack the class loading? Can you hijack temporary storage? Can you fuzz it? Can you cause it to fail open? Normal stuff. And as soon as you get past that, now you're communicating with the web service. It's a normal web app pen test. As soon as I got that, I was like, well, shit, this is kind of easy. And then I was like, fuck, I can charge people more for this shit. Who's with me? It's like, yeah. Okay, so getting your environment going. My emulator needed Viagra, how to get it up and running. So getting your environment going is actually pretty easy. Get your Android SDK, load Java, get yourself your APK reversing tools, okay? And that's really all you need. InfoSec partners, they've got an intent fuzzer, intent sniffers, and manifest fuzzers. They've got a couple of little fuzzing tools that are pretty good. I would definitely check those out. But I would say the biggest thing is just to get your emulator going. If you get your emulator going, the emulators run on Linux, run on Mac, run on Windows, doesn't matter. Get your emulator going so that you can emulate the mobile environment, and that's where you're going to be able to do the bulk of your testing. Now you're going to need to root your phone. Okay, on the iPhone it gets a little bit weirder. You're going to have to go down the Xcode route. Anybody? Yeah. Okay. The thing that really got me with Xcode is Steve Jobs, although he is a genius when it comes to getting paid, he is a fucking genius. When it comes to making a product that's remotely close to usable, he is fucking smoking crack. You have to sign up for this corny-ass Xcode SDK thing for $99 a year. You get the thing, and it's like, okay, well now let's go learn Objective-C. So for anybody who's really wanting to hear me rant, buy me some alcohol after this, because I have been knee-deep in some fucking Xcode for the last couple of weeks, and this shit makes no fucking sense. They've got all these NS functions that came from the Next Step operating system. Hello? The 80s back, the 80s called, they want their fucking operating systems back. What are you doing? All these NS function calls and NS database calls and all this string handling. It's like, well, we handle buffer overflows because we've got compile time test and runtime test. So we've got, remember how you have stir copy of the N functions? Well, they have stir copy with an L because it does link checking. Now, who's like, oh, that's pretty freaking cool. Well, that's great, but if you try to reference past the boundaries of an array, it fucking returns 0. It doesn't segfault. It fucking returns 0. So let's say my array is only 5 elements. If I ask for element number 20, which doesn't exist, it should segfault. Who's with me? It should fucking segfault. That bad boy shouldn't return 0. Oh, I'll never have any security exploits with this, right? Okay, so get your Xcode going. The cool thing about once you get Xcode, it loads the iPhone and iPad simulator right into it. So you build your little apps, and immediately you drag them right over into the simulator, and it fires up the little iPhone, iPad. You can play with it just like it's a phone. It's great. Using that as an attack platform, as soon as you jailbreak your phone, game's on. You jailbreak your phone, load Cydia, pretty much everything in the apt-get repositories, hallelujah, you can go. Okay, you load Ruby 1.86. Do not load Ruby 1.9 if you're trying to load Metasploit. Load Ruby 1.86. Install SSH into the device, install apt, and you can apt-get install pretty much anything you want. You're up and you're running. If you want to do this on Android, Android has a Gentoo image that you can use for pen testing, and I really, really like this. So you get ConnectBot, you get this scripting language for Android, so it loads Perl, Ruby, Python, all that cool stuff, and now you're away you go. So here you can see we've got our Droid-based phone. It's got Nmap, W3AF, AMAP, Type VNC, Scapy, Metasploit, all your stuff. It's ready to rock. Android, like I said, jailbreak it. And then once you load Cydia, you can just search. It's a functional equivalent of app when you're searching in Cydia. Or you can drop to a command line. You can do apt cache search, apt-get install. Just grab everything you want. Absolutely works great. A couple of issues that we've been running into. I finally got GDB working on my iPhone. Still having issues with iPhone 4 and GCC. So I found out that Apple has blacklisted the open source version of GCC. Apple, in their infinite wisdom, thinks that GCC is evil. So the GCC that you're actually running is Xcode's own derivative of GCC. So when you're trying to compile applications, you're going to notice that there's like noticeable differences. If anybody actually takes the pain that induces alcohol consumption, that is reading the Apple SDK documentation, you will see that there's a lot of things that they'll give you examples of that they want you to compile in Xcode, and then they'll turn around and in the same SDK example say, well, this doesn't compile in Xcode, please compile it with a native version of GCC. What the fuck? So yeah, it just lost me. It just straight out freaking lost me. I thought it was going to be a cool research project, and where I really did used to think apples were cool, now I think Apple is the absolute dumbest fucking operating system on the planet. Sorry, I hope I don't hurt anyone's feelings. It fucking is weird. It just is. At least the interaction with the iPhone and the iPad and these different variations of iOS and you know, why they allow you to jailbreak some stuff and then don't want you to jailbreak it, and then a week later they're okay with it. Like, I had a marriage like that. Does anybody, like, what the fuck? Like, damn it, girl, what is wrong with you? Like that's what's going on with Apple. Okay, so like I said, make sure you load Ruby 1.86 for Metasploit and you get all your stuff going on the iPhone. All right, now on to the serious stuff, reversing. All right, for me, I am not one of those like ninja reversers. I've only been doing RE for maybe a year and a half. So I am not like the IDA Pro guru, but I'm working on it. I'm drinking milk. So you want to yank down your Android SDK. You want to download Smolly and Box Smolly. They've got these assemblers and disassemblers for DEX files. So when you get these files of these different file types with Droid, you want to make sure that you can disassemble them. At the end of the day, it's just ripping it down and getting used to what ARM assembly looks like. So ARM assembly for me, with all these send message calls and things like that, took a little while to get used to. But after a while, you kind of jump, if not zero. Okay, cool. And you can follow the code execution. It's not that bad. Okay. Make sure you have yourself a Java decompiler. Here's a crack me. If you guys think the one that I gave you earlier is a little too difficult, try this one. You can download this one. That's a good little Android crack me. Okay, good one to play with, get used to it. All right, the thing that I really like in the iPhone space is called Clutch. Any of you guys using this? Clutch fucking rocks. When you try to load Clutch, it will tell you that you're downloading stuff from an illegal repository. It's probably doing something really bad to your phone. But to me, the rewards outweigh the risk. You know what I mean? This thing is bad as shit. Clutch decrypts your IPA file. So the IPA file is the application package that files come from in the iTunes store. Clutch decrypts the file so that you can reverse it in IDA. So now you don't have any funky encryption to look at anymore. Clutch is free. Hallelujah, Jesus. And if you download Clutch, you have a jailbroken phone, you download the app, you pay for the app one time. Once you decrypt it with Clutch, you can now move the app to any phone without ever having to pay for it again. You gotta love this. You absolutely gotta love this. Okay, so at that point, you grab the app, yank it over to your desktop. You're gonna notice that the app is an IPA file. You can rename it to zip, or if you're actually on a Mac, you can just right click and say show package contents. They'll extract that, and then the actual executable, the binary, you'll be able to drag it into IDA Pro. Okay, things that we ran into with actually trying to exploit, go ahead. No. It'll still work. It'll still work. But what a lot of people are doing, did you guys hear his question? Okay, so his question was, if you decrypt the app, move it from phone to phone, will you still get updates? The answer is no, you will not get updates, but the app works. Now, what you can do, I'm starting to notice a lot of people are doing this with Red Snow and Tiny Umbrella and all these different jailbreaking programs. They're jailbreaking the phone, backing up to iTunes, and then restoring the phone and then restoring the backup so that they can have the apps and it looks like they're paid for. We can neither confirm nor deny, but you know. Okay. All right. Things that I ran into trying to do some research and write some exploits. The best advice I can give you is try to do some detective work and look at where other people are going. So I jumped on ExploitDB and PacketStorm and started doing my Googling, and I started noticing there are a ton of directory traversals for Apple apps. Anybody noticing that? Directory traversal, directory traversal, directory traversal, again. And all of those are like within the last 5 months. Just over and over and over again, right? Now, I'm not exactly the smartest hacker in the world, you know. But I would venture to guess that they've got an issue with permissions and multiple encoding types. And for some reason, they just don't seem to handle directory traversals all too well. Anybody with me? Little assumption here. Okay. So if you get another app and you have to test, would it be worthwhile, if the app spawns a web server locally, to try a directory traversal on the app? Would it be worthwhile if the app references a temporary file? So let's say the app writes to a temporary file and then consumes the file back in to render it later. Would it be worthwhile to try a directory traversal? Yeah. So, hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, this works. This works. Apple is feeling the same pain that IIS felt in the early 2000s. Remember how we had Unicode attacks taking us all the way from NT4 all the way up through Windows 2000, Service Pack 2, and all these different iterations of the dot dot slash attacks with the multiple encoding types. Apple is susceptible to the exact same thing. So as you're dealing with multiple apps, these directory traversals are all over the place. All over the place. And what I'm starting to find as I work with developers, the apps are so small and so simple, they're just not writing a lot of error handling. They're not writing a lot of bounds checking. They're not writing a lot of session management. It's just made, hey, I just need the app to work, right? Literally what you're dealing with in most cases is a one website browsing app. That's it, right? Hey, the client is just an app that runs on the phone. It's a Java-based client, or it's a Objective-C-based client that just browses a one-page website. So if that's all they're doing in the developer's eyes, why am I going to write all this error handling and bounds checking and all that kind of stuff? I mean, it's just a client that browses a site. Right? So it's that thought process that leads to all these different vulnerabilities. Okay? Next thing that I will look for is really look and see what's going on with malware. Okay? The malware community is really going to show you what's going on. In a lot of cases, they're not even fully exploiting the phones, not fully jailbreaking the phones, and installing malware that tries to get it to connect to somewhere else. A lot of browser-based stuff. Not a whole lot via SMS at this point, but it is coming. People are talking about SMS-based botnets. So it's in work. There are some malware groups out there doing a little bit of it, but I don't really have a lot of functioning code on that. If anybody does have functioning SMS C2 code, I would definitely love to see some of that, because I think that would definitely help us as pen testers out. All right, so attacking the web services. I was ultra paranoid about what dealing with the web service was going to be like as soon as I started to get on the phone. But remember what I said? It's just a client that browses the web page, right? And it's only browsing one freaking page. So at that point, once you figure out that you can load Burp Suite on your phone, isn't it just a regular web app pen test? That's all it is. It's just a regular web app pen test. Oh, whoa, you mean I can't run AppScan? Well, how am I going to pen test if I can't run Web Inspect? Right? Yeah, well, sucks to be you, man. Okay? So really what's going on is it's just a regular manual web app pen test, just like we used to do back before we had all those cool-ass automated tools that now spawn clueless pen testers. Yes? Okay? It's the same thing. Dealing with the SOAP envelope is no different. You don't need an automated scanner to do it. And then generally the websites that they're connecting to are not so complex and not so large that you generally require an automated scanner. It's not like you're scanning CNN.com. It's just a tiny little website that processes a credit card and allows you to check your balance on your bank or whatever. Okay. All right. Now, I'm saying that only because I talked so much shit, then I went over to Norway about 2 months ago and definitely put my foot in my fucking mouth. Went over there, and in Europe, mobile banking is light years ahead of where we are in terms of mobile banking. So my bank customers now are not doing anything like what my bank customers in Europe are doing. I went over there and I had to eat some humble pie. It was all about some Joe, sit down, shut the fuck up. We do this on the regular over here. You ever been chin checked like that? Oh shit. Okay, let me just. You ever had that? Yeah, I had that. So I got chin checked. I had to sit down, shut up, because I was like, okay, looks like they kind of know what the hell they're doing over here. Then I actually got to mess with the app, and no, they don't know what they're doing. They just spend more fucking money. Okay? They adopt the technologies before we do. So SMS-based banking is a big deal over there. But when you actually look at it, it's still an XML string that's passing the data. And it's still connecting to a web service. So there's really no functional difference. The only thing that I'm seeing that they're doing in Europe that's really kicking us in the balls is they'll actually issue PKI to their bank customers. So you'll have a smart card. You'll have an RSA equivalent token with the one-time password and the numbers and all that to do your banking. So they're willing to give you the $75 token so you can do your thing. And our banks over here, that's a little expensive. We kind of like making our money and robbing our customers blind. There's some people who are working for banks like, did he just say that? Wait till my boss isn't looking. Okay. All right. So now that you're dealing with mobile, what about standards? So do we have OWASP, IAM, OSTEM, NIST, and all that kind of cool shit for the mobile space? The answer is what? Hell no. Okay, it's the wild, wild west out there, man. If people are telling you that they follow some methodology, they made it up. It is what it is. They made it up. We don't have standards yet. We got some people working on it. You know, you got groups like OWASP, you got groups like Veracode, you got people working on the stuff. But there's no industry accepted standard for securing mobile applications or securing mobile phones. So it's not like you really have a whole lot of leeway to say, well, we're using this because this is what the industry standards are. No, what you're telling the customer is, I know what the hell I'm doing. That's why I'm testing your app, literally. Okay? I've had some customers say, well, we're really looking for someone who's got a lot of mobile app auditing experience. We don't want a person who's just saying, well, we have a lot of web app auditing experience or a lot of software development experience. And I think it's a fair question to ask, but I think it's a little too new in the industry to be requiring that of your testers right now. Okay, so for those of you who are interested in testing mobile apps, any of you guys already currently pen testing mobile apps? A couple people. Okay, have you guys run into this with customers? Okay, same thing, right? You're kind of like, hey man, you're getting me because everybody else runs scanners. Yeah? All right, so when I'm doing a web app test, what am I doing? I go for the basics. Authentication, authorization, input validation, error handling, data security, and logging. I go for the basics. Big things that I've been really trying to jack with lately, temporary storage. People write an app, it writes to a temp file somewhere, or a temp directory, or a scratch directory, or whatever, and then they turn around and reconsume that file later on for processing. If you're allowed to modify that file, that is my first fuzz vector. Try to see what you can do to the app through that. And I guarantee you can make an app crash. Because people, they go trusted source, trusted destination, right? Typical programming principle. Hey, I'm the only one writing to this directory. No one else is going to be writing to that temp directory. So there's no point in doing any input validation on the temporary file. Okay? Huge mistake. Happens all the time. I guarantee you that'll be your first place that you find a ton of vulnerabilities. Parsing errors, buffer overflows, all kinds of stuff. Okay? One of the things that I ran into with Xcode is they have their own APIs that they really want you to use. They don't want you using a lot of external third-party libraries. Okay? So a lot of people will say, well, there's this argument that the code inside of the iTunes marketplace is more secure than the code in the Android marketplace, because anytime Dick and Harry can throw some code up in the Android repository, but you've got to go through these really stringent requirements of using the Apple API for the code you write to get into iTunes and giving them a piece of your profit. Because we all know that's stringent. Don't you feel like those are stringent requirements? I think so. That's it. Nothing says it's secure like you're paying me money. Okay, so this is debatable. There's a guy who did a SANS paper. I got a link for it later, where he was actually quantifying, statistically the amount of malware that per application per capita, that there was actually more malware in the iTunes than there was in Android. I can't confirm that, but everybody has a statistic. Okay, then after that, when I test the web service, go for the web like it's anything else. Veracode released a top 10. I thought this was actually pretty good. They hooked up with a company called Lookout. Any of you guys running Lookout for Droid? Veracode and Lookout hooked up. I guess they did the little bed buddy thing and, cranked out a little half-page, almost a white paper, like cool ideas, like, hey, This is what's attacking our mobile apps. They didn't release any best practices guides or anything like that, but I'm hoping that that comes in the future. OWASP has the mobile security project that I think is now a half a page. I think it's really made like real serious progress, because before it was just some names of some people, but now it's like, you know, they've got like a paragraph now. They're like, hey, we do mobile. This is progress. It's progress. We do mobile. Okay, some references. Like I said, the Veracode. I had a customer last month who asked me for this developer best practices guide, and then they wanted it like in 2 days, so it's horrible. Please do not take this as the gospel, but it's something we threw together really, really quickly, so you guys are more than welcome to it. Will we be updating it and cleaning it up over time? Yes. There's probably even grammatical errors because I wrote it. Okay, so I definitely think it'll point you in the right direction for Android secure software development. Also, here's some other resources, just things that I thought were pretty helpful for me when I was messing around with it. It's been an interesting thing. For me, October, November last year was when I really started to get the phone calls for mobile. And I don't know if you guys are starting to experience this, but the sheer sense of urgency in the customer is completely different. You know, example, January, get on a conference call. Customer says, we are a hotel chain. We've got a brand new mobile app. It's the second week of January. We need the app, the Java version for Android and the Objective-C version for iPhone. We need them both tested before the month is over, because it needs to go to production in 2 weeks. Anybody with me? Who's like, yeah, sure.
I've actually seen the same thing in terms of development. They approach developers and say, we've got an iPhone app idea, and we'd like it to be done next Friday.
Oh, wow.
And we'll pay you $150.
Oh.
Like a triangle of expectation, cheap, fast, and good. You only get one side of that.
It's so cheap, fast, and good.
Right.
That's the one you use?
Get cheap and good, but it ain't fast. I get fast and cheap, but it ain't good.
I'm gonna have to use that.
For relationships, too.
It does?
It works for everything.
So you really use that for relationship modeling?
That's why I'm alone.
I want to see somebody like dread and stride threat model a relationship. Like, really? So if there's spoofing where I'm pretending to be, like, I want to see that. And if there's tampering where I'm messing with your sister, like, I got to see that. There are spreadsheets. I want to see the Gantt chart where it's like all project managed out.
My relationship is successful in binary complete.
Fucking gotta see that. Okay, guys, so if you guys need anything, that's all I got for my presentation. I'll take some questions now. Cricket, 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 cricket. Question. I have some okay, so his question was, is my research primarily focused on Wi-Fi, or do I get into 3G, CDMA, GPRS, and all the other cool stuff? And my answer is, I am just now learning GSM. I'm like knee deep in that Karsten Knoll rainbow table A51 research right now. So I am like the Uber baby in that side of the world, but I'm definitely moving toward that. Right now, when the customer brings us the app, that's generally not a concern. The general concern from my customer standpoint has been if someone roots the phone, if someone jailbreaks the phone, what type of application security can they add to the app to deal with that, in which case I say, you know, sucks to be you, it's like marriage. Okay. Yes, sir. Yes. So the question was, have I had the opportunity to work with a customer in the preliminary stages with an app? And that's actually where that best practices guide came from. So what was happening was, in this particular case, it was kind of like an E-Trade like type of app where you could like log in and check check your balances of the trades you want to make and all that. And things that they wanted to know was with the iPhone 4 specifically, the iPhone 4 has the ability to hibernate. So let's say I'm in the app and my phone rings, you can hibernate, and then what it'll do is the current application will send sleep message events, like awake from sleep and all that, to let it know it's back. So they wanted to know what were our recommendations for storing credentials, like do we recommend you store it in the keychain, somewhere else on the file system, do you encrypt them? And they also wanted to know how should we handle session management if the app gets backgrounded. So if the app gets backgrounded, should we handle session management? Should we require a password to get the app back going again? Should we require a passcode? Something like that to get the app back going again. We gave the customer the advice of treat it just like session authentication in any other app. You know, if you have session timeout where you get up and walk away from the computer and come back, you want to re-authenticate to the session. So that's the kind of advice that we give them. But answer, yes, only one case.
Having any pain with British phones when dealing with Royo, gingerbread, honeycomb, all those different things?
This is exactly what I said our customers keep asking us about. And I have to put it to a customer this way. I'm like, okay, you wrote an application. If the person was on Windows and did privilege escalation to system, what could your app do? Seriously. Your app can do nothing. Your admin, your root, your system. There really is nothing you can do if the guy's jailbroken or rooted his phone, all bets are off. This is why a lot of malware, specifically the iPhone malware, was targeting jailbroken phones. There really is nothing you can do. You can try to do stuff, but it's going to be very, very signature based. You're going to be looking for this particular strand of malware that does X. We're going to try and deal with that. I don't think you're going to be able to do much more than that. Again, I'm not some expert on this. This is just a couple of months of messing with it. But to me, if I wrote an app and the guy privilege escalates the system, I don't know what the hell you could do. Anybody? Yeah. Sorry, man. I wish I had a better answer. Anybody else? What's up? Back here? That sounds pretty cool. I've never dealt with that. Right now, we just got finished responding to an RFI, and the big thing that they were looking at was encrypting the bootloader on both Android and iPhone. The concern from my customer has been, if we have a phone, we want to try to apply full disk encryption, but it's basically like the dirty maid hack. If someone can get to the bootloader, what can you do, essentially? So that's been what we've been experimenting with. I haven't really seen people from an enterprise level able to deal with rooted phones. So who's the person who makes that product? Good makes that. I'll have to check that out. No shit. That's pretty cool. I used to use Good. You're talking the Outlook calendaring good right? Good link with the Outlook calendaring application. Yeah, I used to use that. I'm gonna check into that. All right, I'm gonna write that down. Question? No shit. Huh. No shit. So since it's only $1,000, I got a couple hundred here. Did anybody beat my little iPhone RE challenge? Nope. Did anyone? Huh? Okay. All right. Any other questions for me? What's up, bud?
Have you looked much at cloud device messaging and push technologies?
No, I have not. I have not. Do you have customers that are really dealing with that here?
No, but it seems like an attack vector that could allow you to get out the phone, even if you're not installing the software.
Yeah. The guy whose research to me would be closest to that would be Charlie Miller. Charlie Miller got an interpreter shell to work out of a text message. So, yeah, and it's only for iPhone. It's only for iPhone. Yeah. So Charlie Miller, I could see that making sense, but I don't know anybody who's even working on research even close to that. So the concern is you've got an SAS type app that's in the cloud and it sends text messages when new users sign up or on whatever type of event, right?
So, like push email or instant Twitter notifications, there's actually a cloud device messaging API on Android 2.2 and later.
Oh, wow.
That you can write applications that will get real-time messages without having channel limits.
Oh,
As I understand it, all comes through one channel
Right.
that Google controls, which is the same one they use for the app stores.
right.
And it also has tech in there to be able to push applications to a phone.
Okay, so it would have to have the same functionality like an RSS feed. I mean, that's basically what you're dealing with, right? You're dealing with an RSS feed that pushes via SMS. Yeah, I mean, I can't think of a similar technology. It would have to be something similar, right? Yeah, so it's RSS style, and it pushes via SMS. So are you talking server-side vulnerability or client-side vulnerability?
Yes.
Yeah. The idea is you own the server and
Yeah, client-side vulnerability, it's only going to be like a text message parsing error. So whatever application handles the text message doesn't parse it correctly and potentially can cause either application misuse or even code execution. I think code execution, outside of Charlie Miller being savant and brilliant, I think that's less likely. I think you're more likely to have application misuse. We're just talking thinking out loud here. Getting onto the app in the cloud and controlling the app would be through some sort of web vulnerability that allowed me to gain control of the app. Well, at that point, I could see pushing malware to the devices via SMS. I could see that. So in the realm of possibility, yeah. I would try to focus more on testing the individual app. Like, has anyone done any cloud pen testing? Anyone? Okay, so I have a customer, and he's got a cloud implementation. And we've been having these massive phone calls on how we're going to test it. Because what I keep running into is every cloud implementation is slightly different. My guess is your messaging type thing, it's going to be a particular implementation of all these different libraries and applications, a suite of applications together to make that happen. So I can't see a one-size-fits-all type of, it's going to be good client security, good server security, hire Joe. You know what I'm saying, right? Okay, any other questions? Cricket, cricket, cricket. All right, guys. Guys, thanks for putting up with me. We're out of here.
Yeah, let's give him a round of applause.